Okay, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Arnold Pineda. I am currently the president of UST Medical Alumni Association Philippines. So, this is the current board of directors of USMA Philippines. No? I'm the president. Dr. Maria Antonia Moral Valencia is our president-elect, and she's here with me. And our Vice President is Dr. Minerva Kalinag, who is the current President of the Philippine Medical Association also. So these are the other members of the board. This is the Board of Trustees of the Medical Alumni Foundation Philippines. Chairman is Dr. Hilda Mila, and the President is Dr. Cynthia Flores. So this was the induction ceremonies during the annual homecoming in Manila Hotel last January. So this is turnover ceremonies for the incoming AHOC of 2023 for the silver badge. These are the Thomas awardees for medical research, Dr. Aragon Chin, for public health, Dr. Andres, for community service, Dr. Espinosa Singh, for government service, Dr. Claire Santos, and medical education, Dr. John Joseph Fildes III. So this is the current board during our first meeting. So the activities, we've re-established our chapters for the USMA. So these are chapter-related activities also with NRG Roy. And we have chapter-sponsored seminars, lectures, and medical missions. Okay? So we also have plans to bridge the relationship between our new graduates who are post-licensure and US-based UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery alumni for their plans for residency and for bridging the gap between the UST Medical Alumni Association America and for our graduates. Okay, so this would serve as a networking and with our US-based physicians. So we've had our medical missions, no? So quarterly medical missions, which we already had. No, the first one was with done by the UST Hospital, Alaga Tulong Tomasino, which was held last January 10 to 12, 2023. We also had our medical mission with NARA Palawan. So this is in cooperation with the Palawan chapter of the USMA. No? So this was done last April. Okay, so our plan, so we have another medical mission, Fiestang Pangkalusugan Medical Mission, in June 13, 14, and 15. This is in cooperation with the Ideal Medical Mission Lecture with experts from Canada. And we also have a combined medical mission with the Unified Society of Tomasians of Texas and the Central Luzon chapter and the Nueva Ecija Tomasinos this coming June 23 to 25. So this is the Ideal Medical Mission Lecture I mentioned a while ago. Okay. So the Grad Alumni Homecoming this December would be with the theme Imbued with an Ending Grace, Kumustahan, a Post-Pandemic Get-Together, Reconnecting and Renewing Ties, will be held at the Manila Marriott Hotel this December 17, 2023. So this is the program for that, no? December 14 to 17. The USMA activities for batch 1998, the Silver Jubilarians, as well as for batches 3 and 8. So this was the AHOC meeting. So for the batches 4 and 9, or batch 1999 Silver Jubilarians, this is Tomasino Manggagamot, hindi nakakalimot, also to be held at the Marriott Grand Ballroom on January 4 to 7, 2024. So these are the Reminder for the Thomas awardees for your batches, you can nominate not only for jubilarians but also for all of the batches if you want to nominate for Thomas Awards for this year. So the songwriting contest, which was won by Maria Isabel Ponce, was awarded the grand prize. So these are the UST Alumni Association incorporated activities, General Assembly, the Flores de Mayo, and the awarding of the Certificates of Recognition of Academic Excellence for UST Med Class 2023 given to exemplary students. Okay, so we also have the USMA Alalay program for our those who will undertake the physician licensure examination. So we have freshman kits for our first year students, and then we also you've got PLE kits and graduation ball and El Fuego Tomasin. Okay, so we would like to thank and acknowledge our counterparts in the UST Medical Alumni of America, UST Medical Alumni Foundation in America, UST America Southern California for the support made to the UST Medical Alumni Association. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pineda.
May I present to you the members of our UST VIP administration. Dr. Charito Malong Consolacion. She is the medical director of UST Hospital. Father Julius Factora, our CEO of UST Hospital, the youngest, but the most dynamic. And our number one official of the university, Reverend Father Richard Allen. And the Dean of our medical school, the Beauty and Brains, Dr. Lourdes Maglina. And we've met Dr. Pineda. So we want to make this interactive, so we encourage you to do a Q&A, meaning to say, whatever is in your mind, go for it. Just to introduce what is happening right now, the OSMA Foundation had a board meeting yesterday, and we were able to allocate $135,000 for the hospital and school. And it was broken down to medical surgical mission, $35,000, surgical indigency program, that's surgical indigency program, $35,000, medical indigency program is $25,000, Save a Heart, $5,000, Save a Sight, $5,000, and simulation lab, of course, we have a pledge of $1 million, which we already have in hand, and which we are going to endorse sometime this year, at the end of the year, I believe. Last year, we had our first in-house medical surgical mission, and that was under the chairmanship of our president, USMA Foundation, Dr. Ferdy Ramos. And of course, with the assistance of Dr. Charito Malong and Dr. David Bolong from the UST Hospital. We saw around 1,900 plus patients, almost 2,000 medical patients, 134 surgical cases, 30 plus ophthalmology, and Save a Heart was around 6, one pacemaker and some other cardiac procedures. And also the surgical indigency program was started last year, and that's what we do is we donate or we give 10,000 pesos per surgical patient as a budget. So if we have a thyroidectomy, 10,000 pesos will be provided for by the surgical indigency program. And I believe they did 134? Yeah. Yeah, for the whole year. So we do around 12 per month. And the budget was $25,000. So we increased the budget this year to $35,000, so there will be more patients. And for the medical indigency, what we're going to do is for every patient, before they get into the hospital, they're supposed to give 5,000 pesos as a institutional fee. But they cannot come up with 5,000 pesos, so our indigency, medical indigency program will support the 5,000, will take 5,000 from us so that the patient can be admitted to the hospital. And is there anything else, Ferdy? The surgical and medical, and of course we have our usual St. Dominic Scholarship.
We also donated
Oh yes, okay, we donated $25,000, which was purchased for 2 EKG machines and 1 video laryngoscope. For, I think it's 130. How much do you have? 142. Oh yeah, $2,000 for GK. So it's 142,000. Yeah, for this coming year, for this year. And is there any other? So now I would like to ask Father to. Oh, and $10,000 for research is also allocated. 5,000 for the residents and fellows in the hospital, and 5,000 for the medical students. So can I ask Father Julius to start? Just give us a short summary.
Hello, good morning. I'm Father Paul, the CEO of UST Hospital. I think the biggest update that I'll be giving to the body is that, as you all know, the UST Hospital complex is now composed of 4 buildings: San Vicente Ferrer, the San Juan Macias, which is the clinical division, the BCI building, and the newest one, which is the St. John Paul II building. This building has been an ongoing construction for almost 11 years. But we were able to initially open it on April 2022. And now we are almost 80 to 90% operational. By the end of the year, we are going to finish this newest building of the hospital. The plan is that we are going to transfer all the services from the old Bay Hospital, including the beds, and we are making way for more clinical beds, meaning we are going to have more clinical materials for our clerks, interns, and residents. As we all know, UST Hospital is the premier teaching hospital in the Philippines, and we would like to be on track and on this direction. And we cannot be on this direction if we have limited clinical materials for our students. That's why, after creating space in the old Bay Hospital, we are allocating semi-bay and clinical beds for our trainees. The biggest challenge of the UST Hospital right now is the purchase of equipment and fixtures for the new hospital. As you all know, the money of the hospital is actually tied up with the construction of the building. And now we are trying to make both ends meet by trying to be more creative in terms of our engagement with our suppliers. That's the biggest challenge. And another challenge is the lack of nurses. This is actually a global challenge. But together with the medical director, we are also creative in terms of enticing our nurses to work with us. It's not just increasing the salary, but we are trying to bulk in terms of the benefits of our nurses, one of which is that we are offering a free lodging for our nurses, and we've also increased other benefits for our nurses. And we hope that the UST MAA would continue to support and collaborate with us as we try to navigate the UST Hospital in this post-pandemic era. Thank you.
Malong is going to be giving us she's the medical director for the hospital. So we'll finish with the hospital first, do the FMS, and then we'll do the university.
Yeah, good morning to everybody. First and foremost, I would like to thank our attendees for today's activity, and also Dr. Estela for giving us this opportunity to share the latest update, what's happening in the hospital. So aside from those things that were mentioned by Father Factora, we are really trying our best to improve the quality of services that the hospital is providing, and to increase the number of patients that will serve as teaching materials and opportunity for our medical students as well as the affiliating students. So when we started our office in the hospital, we come up with a process now, because one of the challenge that we're facing when we have our needs assessment is the outdated and seemingly end-of-life machineries and equipments that the hospital is using. So we had came up with a bids and awards committee wherein we take note of all the possible acquisitions that the hospital can do, and we try to negotiate the price so that the existing money that the hospital has right now, and with all the things that you are helping us, can be put into practical usage. So we have been negotiating with several suppliers to give us a more flexible payment terms, so that with that we were able to purchase a lot of machines. So we were able to give equipment for the Eye Institute. We were able to provide arthroscopy tower machines. We were able to come up with actually 2 CT scans already. So the first CT scan was used already in compliance with the requirement of BCI. We are thinking of coming up with an Apex hospital, and just presented yesterday, there are 3 Apex institute or center that we're trying to build up with the hospital, and this would be for the cancer cases, for the neuroscience cases, or the stroke patient, and we're trying to increase and strengthen the rehabilitation and sports capability of the hospital. So with this, we hope to engage more patients, more clients, and to renegotiate the position of the hospital, bringing it again to what it is before, with excellence and quality. And we are really working with all the stakeholders, not just the students, the affiliates, but we're also trying to build more friendly atmosphere and relationship with our suppliers, HMOs, and other stakeholders, because we think these are the challenges that were not really looked after before. So I hope with this more renegotiation and more friendly environment, we can really engage more people to help us.
Thank you, Dr. Malong. Next would be the Dean. We all know her, Dr. Maglina, who will give us an overview of the FMS.
Good morning, everyone. So I am very familiar to most of you here. Now, for the brief updates from the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery, our curriculum continues to be, and the medical education continues to provide quality medical education at par with global standards. Now, we have a continuously improving competitive bench of our faculty. As a matter of fact, we have an increasing number of international faculty, and this will correlate with the increase in the KPIs of internationalization and globalization of our medical school. Now, in terms of our student profile, we still have like 450 to 480 medical students intake every year, and we continue to be the top performing school in medicine. Now, we continue also to be the center of excellence in medical education. Now, there are a lot of improvements done in the recent years. Now, one, of course, is the in correlation to the sesquicentennial anniversary, we received a back-to-back commendation from the House of Representatives, the Congress, and the Senate, commending the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery's contribution to Philippine medicine and medical education. Now, in addition to that, I think you're most excited to hear updates from the development in terms of the facilities and infrastructure. Our landmark project number 1, which is the redevelopment of the rear portion of the medicine building, has been completed. So if you try to visit and come visit us anytime, you will see the new image or the new face of the rear wing of the medicine building. All the laboratories are renovated. They are fully equipped and furnished state-of-the-art facility. Now, secondly, we have our simulation and research project, which was conceptualized in 2017. Though the pandemic hit the project, it continues to, the construction. Now we are already on the 2nd floor. Now, if we have time later on, I have pictures and video of the construction. You will be able to see how it has managed the construction is being developed, and at this point in time, we are 33 days ahead of the timeline in the construction of the facility. We have earmarked the amount for the construction. We were able to gather from different stakeholders and different corporate, like Henry C. Senior Foundation, and of course the university who has given so much support for the construction of this building. And on the other hand, we already have an earnest amount for the for the equipment of all the state-of-the-art facility in the simulation and research building. I think that's about all.
Thank you, Dean Maglino. And last, finally, but not least, we'd like to hear from the rector of the University of Santo Tomas, Reverend Richard Ang.
Good morning, everyone, or should I say good noon, everyone. I started, my rectorship started right at the start of the pandemic in January 2020. So it was really a very challenging time. But I should say, despite the challenges that the university encountered for the past 3 years, I think and I believe the University of Santo Tomas is doing very well. First of all, we still have 42,000 students in our 22 faculties, colleges, and institutes. And after 400 years of its existence, UST is now strategically expanding to Santa Rosa as well as to General Santos City, Mindanao. Santa Rosa will be an extension campus of the university. It will be an innovation hub patterned after the Pennsylvania State University. I sent a number of our administrators to study the universities here in the United States, and we would like to replicate it in the Philippines too. Now, General Santos City will be somehow a branch campus of University of Manila, University of Santo Tomas, España, and we will be opening 4 schools or colleges in General Santos City by 2025, namely the School of Accountancy and Commerce, the School of Health Sciences, the College of Science, as well as the School of Engineering and Information Technology. Now, with regards to my vision as rector of the university, I give premium to academe, industry, alumni, government partnership. So I was able to gather a lot of donations coming from prominent families in the Philippines, namely Ramon Ang will be donating, Henry C. family has donated, Dr. Tony Tan Kak Kyong has donated, as well as the late Ricardo Po Sr. So why are we doing it? Well, because the resources of the university, of course, are limited, but the university is expanding, it is growing, and so we need the cooperation and the collaboration of the people in the industry as well as our alumni associations, most especially the UST MAA and the UST MAA Foundation. Now, I would prefer that you ask us questions because I think your point of interest, I think we will be able to answer in our session for today's meeting. But anyway, about 2 years ago, we were able to revise and improve the UST vision mission, incorporating the inputs of Veritatis Gaudium coming from the Vatican, which gives importance to interdisciplinarity. So right now, our thrust is not to isolate one discipline or science, but there should be a dialogue ongoing between the sciences, like medicine and engineering or rehabilitation sciences and fine arts or advertising. So I think when I started as rector of the university, some of the people were kidding me and telling me I am the pandemic rector, but I refuse to be called merely a pandemic rector. I would like to be known as the rector who raised UST from the rut of the pandemic. Thank you and good morning.
Okay, thank you very much. We're really privileged to have the big wigs of our university and the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. So we would like to open the floor now to questions. Please, just questions, no comments, questions, and identify yourself, your class, and to whom you are addressing your question. Questions? Yes.
My question is, Dr. Gajanab from Chicago, class of 65. My question is, how to the dean, how is the relationship between the faculty and the students nowadays? Because there were some complaints way back then about that relationship that seemed to be that the professors were putting down the students and the students are trying to their best to pass.
Currently, Doctor, the students and the faculty have a very good relationship. That's the reason why we wanted to, we have mentoring programs. We have instituted mentoring programs since year 1. And we have in the medical education department activities that would instill close relationship between the faculty and the students, like Talakayan. We have that, our regular meetings with faculty and students as well. So we have an open relationship as compared to the previous years.
Questions?
I'd like to add to the question raised by the doctor from Chicago. So I think the situation in the university has tremendously changed for the past several years. I think, as I was saying the other day when we had the closed-door meeting with the board of directors, the student is supposed to be the center of the classroom. It's no longer focused on the faculty members and teachers. So it is now a learner-oriented setting. And if students would encounter difficulties, not only with some teachers, but even with their study life, they can easily have dialogue with the administrators of the faculty in medicine and surgery. Other students would also prefer to communicate with the father rector by writing an email or a letter, and we make sure that we entertain concerns of our stakeholders.
Any other questions? A question for Dr. Bono. Madam, sorry. What are we doing to attract premium students into our internship and residency programs? Because we've heard that a lot of our good students are not coming to our internship program anymore, and a lot of the residents are, going elsewhere. I know you've done something with the salary, but what else is being done to attract good people into our internship and residency programs?
Actually, one of the identified limitations that the hospital had before was the limited number of cases and the outdated services, machineries that we are using before. So when we had our meeting with the hospital administrators, we tried to come up with programs and activities like benchmarking for the prices, making it more competitive and affordable to our patients. Number two, we try to analyze the cost of each procedural fees and services, making it more affordable for our patient. As mentioned by Father Factora, we are also trying to deal with the infrastructure changes of the hospital since there are several wards and rooms that were removed and was converted to offices and other units that are not being utilized for our clinical cases. Now, as for the salaries and benefits, we are doing something to increase the salaries and the benefits of our interns, residents, and even for the fellows. The Department of Medical Education and Research, headed by Dr. Pichi Natividad from the hospital, is really trying to make a balance between the life and work of our interns, residents, and fellows. And that's the reason why when we reported during our Board of Trustees meeting yesterday, we reported some activities that does not emphasize only on their work, but also something that would establish relationship, because we see that loyalty will come from good relationship and not just from the learnings that they get from the hospital.
Any other questions? Yes.
Dora, if you don't mind, how much do the interns get? Is it a stipend and also for the residents?
For the residents, Doctora, we have stipend, but for the interns, we only have a meal allowance or an allowance, which I think is not even more than 1,000 per month. But Father Factora currently is doing things and trying to engage other friends, so that we can provide free meals for our interns. Actually, one of the project of Father Factora is to provide weekend meals for our interns so that if they are on duty, they don't need to spend money for their meals. Aside from that, we also had communicated with Father Aparicio to provide us free usage of the Central Library so that if they have some research papers, journals that they have to research using the library, they can have a free access. But apart from those, another thing that we're working on is the project of Dr. Ramos, which is the continuity of medical education, which would engage our interns. And through this CME, we would try to make them more aware of the latest updates on what is happening with the medical diagnostic cases, as well as to engage them on how, if they plan and if they are interested to practice here in the US, I think one of the program is to make them aware of what are the help that can be extended to them if in case they are interested.
Hi, I'm from New Jersey, a graduate of USTMD 73. My question is, do you offer opportunity to the dean? Do you offer teaching opportunities for residents so that this will develop their teaching abilities, number one. And number two is to augment their income. Because I was once a resident of UST Hospital, and the income as a resident is really not enough, especially if you have a family. But I was lucky enough. I finished residency in clinical pathology at UST Hospital, and I was lucky enough to have a teaching opportunity at the UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery.
Thank you, Doctora. The current structure of the teaching structure or the teaching framework in the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery is under the Office of Vice Rector for Academic Affairs. Now, in terms of the teaching opportunity for the residents, we have that with the clerks and the interns as well, no? Although the clerks are directly under the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. We want to make it sure that the medical continuum is undisrupted, meaning to say the teaching happens within the clinical setting, from the medical student to the clerks, to the interns, to the residents, fellows, even the junior consultants and the consultants. Although at this point in time, we don't have a formal framework wherein the residents are supposed to teach and they are being compensated. But in the last meeting that we had with the administration of the hospital, we proposed part of the affiliation fee realignment be allocated, part of it to the residents as part of their stipends.
Dean, are the clerks and interns paying tuition, or it ends after third year?
The clerks pay their tuition. The interns are not under the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. It's under the hospital. So the clerks have paid their tuition, a one-year tuition fee.
I just want to have an update in the Charity Hospital of UST. How is it coming along? Are students learning from the hospital?
There's no simple way of answering this question because the students learn through the clinical materials, through the patients. But when we assumed office, the number of clinical beds in our charity hospital has drastically decreased because of the infrastructure change made by the previous administrators. Right now, as I reported a while ago, the direction of the hospital is to make space for new clinical beds so that our interns, residents, and clerks may learn from them. But despite the fact that there is limited number of clinical beds for our trainees right now, we are trying to be creative in terms of providing learning materials to them. Of course, as reported by Dr. Chato Malong, one reason why we are losing patients is that there is, very high procedural rates. So we try to lower them down, we try to come up with packages in order to attract patients. And as we attract clinical patients, we increase the number of clinical materials for our trainees.
Just to add also, Dr. one thing that we really would want is the public awareness po, that there is an existing clinical ward in UST Hospital. And I think that's one of the objectives that we were able to meet when we had our in-house medical mission. Because as far as Bulacan, Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, we were able to reach outpatients who are also continuously following up with our ACS or outpatient hospital. So I think, Doctor, one thing that aside from the infrastructure and procedural fees that we modified is the enhancement of public awareness that there is still clinical and indigency program within UST Hospital. I think yan po yung isang nawala before. Because some patients would be thinking, meron palang charity ward pa pala sa UST. So, with this po, we would want to enhance and strengthen the public awareness that we're still catering to clinical cases.
Okay, unfortunately, we're over time. I would like to entertain one final question.
Doctor, just to recognize the contribution of UST-MAA, even the poorest of the poor could not afford the rates of a UST hospital despite the fact that we made it much cheaper. So we devised a way in order to help them through the indigency program funded mostly by UST-MAA. We tried to give and allocate budget for these patients for the institutional fee, and if they could not afford the medications, the procedure itself, we tried to also allocate budget for these indigent patients coming from these funds.
I just want to find out, with your increased number of students, what is your ratio for student to clinical teaching patients?
Actually, the Commission on Higher Education has a strict guidelines on how many student per clinical material, the ratio. Now, it depends on the different rotations or the different services. Like, for example, in obstetrics and gynecology, a clerk should fulfill 10 deliveries, 10 normal spontaneous delivery in the whole span of their clerkship. So if we have this number of patients and this number of students times 10, so that's what is necessary. Now for other cases, like other departments like surgery, there are also a specified number of cases that they should be exposed to, and what are the different types of cases that they need to be exposed to.
I also have to say about the pathology department. We gave $5,000, or how much did we give? $5,000 to buy cadavers. But there's also difficulty in getting cadavers in the Philippines, which is needed for the residents to fulfill a number of autopsies so that they could graduate. So there's really clinical as well as financial constraints in those departments.
Okay. There are no other questions. We'd like to thank. One last question.
I'm Dr. Cynthia Carson Cheng, class 1973. I did my clerkship, internship, and residency at the university. My main concern was when I heard that you don't have your clinical division anymore and you're sending out the clerks to other hospitals for training. My concern was, how do you monitor the quality of teaching that they get, and how do you augment or enhance whatever deficiency there is? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. for that question. Just a minor correction. We still have the clinical division. What we don't have are enough clinical patients for the clinical division. Now, with regards to that, since 2018, we have sent our students to other institutions, like the Jose Reyes Memorial Hospital, and we have to understand the fact that every single student has an output or an outcome every single day. So we cannot wait for short or long duration of time to be able to fill up the lack of clinical exposure of our students. So we send them out. Now that is one drawback. When you send your students out, the monitoring may be difficult. They may be, to some extent, we were thinking that they may be un-Thomasian. So unlearning what has to be learned in the Thomasian type of education. But we made it sure that we have a structure to follow, that every single day our students come back to the university, to the medical school, and we debrief them and we discuss the cases with them the way UST should teach them. So we monitor our students, every department, every service that they encounter outside, because we rotate our students in the 4 major departments outside of UST. So medicine, surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, and pediatrics. And at the same time, we also took advantage of the community patients. We are in a strong collaboration with the City of Manila and Navotas, and we have our community exposure. There is so much to learn in the community. We have so many patients. We have sent our ultrasound medicine also in the community. So we have a strong collaboration with the city and the community, the different barangays. So that would include the number of patients that they see there will be included in their list of clinical exposure as well.
We thank our guests for these informative exchanges. Thank you.